Hello there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here as ever for today's very important ACCA Financial Accounting. That's the F3 and the FA paper. Now, in today's video, I'm going to take you through how to pass the Financial Accounting FA and the F3 paper, going through the actual study syllabus and study guide available to you on ACCA's website. What I've done for you is I've put the link to that document we're going to be going through into the description to this video as well. Bring it up, put it on your computer screen. I'm going to go through it with my tips, with my insights, with the best tips I can provide for you, along with the other videos on my channel dedicated to help students around the world. Because if you've not visited my channel before, my name is James. I'm an ACCA qualified member from the UK, and my YouTube channel is set up especially for ACCA students like yourselves with upcoming examinations, because I respond to every single comment that is left in every single video. So today's video is dedicated to Aaron, as you can see at the bottom, and Aaron's kindly put on there, great video, James, fantastic stuff, but can you do a financial accounting video for me, please? I need some advice on what topics to focus on. Well, Aaron, I've got you covered on this. We're going to be going through it top to bottom, so make sure you've got your pen and paper ready. I've also put for you into the description for this video other study texts I'd recommend that you check out in order to actually purchase and to pass this examination as well. Along with, if you've got any other queries, any other exams, it might not be financial accounting, you would like me to do videos on, just like Aaron, just put a comment at the bottom and I'll be able to make some videos based on it as well, because it's all 100% student-led. So, without any further ado, all my details are down at the bottom. Feel free to subscribe so you get access to all of my free materials. You get to see all the new uploads, plus all my Instagram details are at the bottom on there. But without any further ado, let's head on to the main screen. I'm going to go to the bottom. All the key information will be at the top. And we're ready to rock and roll. So on 3 and 2 and 1 and go. So, as you can see on my screen, I'm at the bottom. Main information is up at the top. We're going to be looking through the financial accounting. That's the FA or the FFA syllabus and study guide for September 2020 to August 2021. Now, even if you're watching this video after August 2021, there are so many good points going through this. Some of the syllabus always stays the same, so keep watching all the way through. Plus, I've done an updated video on this that you will be able to look at in future years. So, as you can see on here, this link, the link to actually access this is on the description in this video. So go click it so you can actually follow it through with me. And we're going to be going through all of this with my insights. As you can see, there's quite a lot of information on here. So I can hear you talking to me through the screen and going, James, what on earth is all this? I mean, there's, oh my word, capabilities on there, and what's that diagram? And oh my word, syllabus. How are we going to break this down? Where are your sort of insights going to come into this? Take a deep breath. Would I let you down on this? Well, this is my analysis, so you've got to have a pen and paper to go through this with me step by step. This links into all of my expertise, knowledge, notes, and other videos on my channel that are definitely going to help you out to pass your upcoming financial accounting examination. So I'm going to walk and talk you through. This is available for you, as I said, for free on ACCA's website. This is the old F3 paper. Now it's financial accounting. We're going to go through my notes. And what is the purpose of this syllabus study guide? Well, designed to help planning, studying, and provide detailed information that could be assessed in the examination. Fantastic. In other words, you've got to watch this and you've got to read this if you have this examination. It is critical. So if you've got friends who are studying financial accounting, send this video over to them as well. It is really going to help. It's come directly from ACCA. And we've got the summary of the content on here that you can put this within your revision notes. I'm not going to go through them individually here because it's all broken down as you can go through the actual document. But all I'm going to say to you on this is, you've got this. You're going to be going through my videos, practicing questions with the tips and insights. We're going to go through each of those one by one and what I would do if I was in your situation on this. So let's keep it going through. And again, you can follow this through in terms of the syllabus and study guide. And the first bit we've got on here are the sort of intellectual levels as to, well, if I'm going to be doing financial accounting as an exam coming up in the next month or two, or it could be next week, it could be tomorrow, you're going to have tips in here that are definitely going to help you. Well, First things first, looking at point 1 for the intellectual levels, the main thing on here is it's all about knowledge and it's all about skills. So you can't just learn textbook answers for this. You've got to think about it from a accounting and business perspective. Definitely get that jotted down as to 7 in 10 people will pass this exam. 3 in 10 will fail it, and that's because they just try and learn the textbook answers and just think it's going to be just like that when we get tested in the examination. It doesn't work like that because it's all within, as you can see from the key bits on there. If this is your first video watching of mine, I only underlined the key facts and the key figures. As you can see on here, all I put down there was knowledge, skills within an accounting and business context. And that is the way you've got to start to think about financial accounting in your upcoming examination. That was the main thing from the intellectual levels. We're going to go into that in more detail further down. But we've got the sort of learning hours and education recognition. The only sort of bit on there was that regardless of which exam you're doing around the world, ACCA is globally recognised. These are fundamental skills that you need to be understanding, and they're going to progress into other examinations as well. So we're going to keep on going down because, as you can see on here, we've got the qualification structure is the next part on here, and this is the key bit of a diagram as to, I always get questions on this in terms of the diploma in accounting. Well, as you can see on there in red, the financial accounting paper that we're looking through today is part of that for the level 4 diploma in accounting, and I've also got other videos on the business technology management accounting one so that you can go through the tips and my insights that are definitely going to help. Again, feel free to share these videos, they're all free, and it's going to help other students out around the world. So let's keep on going through, but at least you can now see in terms of the structure where this fits in from a diploma level, and then we're going to go on to, well, how does it relate to further exams as well? So let's keep it going through in terms of, got to look at point 4 now in terms of a guide to ACCA, the examination structure and delivery mode. So let's focus on point number 4 there. And the key bit on here is that you've got to answer all of the questions. It's not a case of you can pick a few here and pick a few there. You've got to go through and answer all of them. They are all compulsory. First key thing to get jotted down. 2-hour examination. So you got an hour and 20 minutes for 100 marks on there, and it's a 50% pass mark. So regardless if you get 50, 60, 89, 100, whatever it may be, obviously we aim high on this channel for everyone who's watching, but it's a case of 50% is the pass mark to get you through. And as I reiterated to you earlier, on average, the pass rate for this examination is 70%. So in other words, 3 in 10 will fail. And in this video, I'm going to take you through why people fail as well, so you don't make that mistake. Before we come back up to number 5, I just want you to make sure you've got jotted down on there, and this is all part of the actual external examiner's report and my top tips, where you'll find these on other videos on my actual YouTube channel. And these are the type of questions in terms of the computer-based examination that you will get tested on. So we've got multiple choice, multiple response, number entry, multiple response matching, and pull down menus. Those are fundamental that you are comfortable with all of those and the setup, because that is one of the first key areas why people fail this exam. They get the wrong formats, they get the wrong layout, the wrong structure, and they make silly mistakes. So get that jotted down. That is going to save you marks. But let me scroll it back up for you so we can actually go have a look at the guide to ACCA, the examination assessment. And again, I've got the keywords underlined on there, so feel free to jot it down on your sheet that you got in front of you. So the first fundamental thing, the external examiner and ACCA are highlighting for you, and I've even put, you have been warned. Key thing on here, ACCA reserves the right to examine anything contained within the study guide. And if you have a look at the external examiner's report, this is another area where students fail this exam because they try to just learn certain sections, which again, we're going to be coming on to later on, and they fail to understand the key concepts as to what is going on in terms of the accounting principles. They come unstuck with questions, they can't apply it to a business or accounting scenario, and they've had it in terms of it. So the 5 key areas to get jotted down in your notes are the knowledge, the techniques, the principles, the theories, and the concepts. If you're comfortable on these areas, you're going to pass this examination and take the skills on further to your financial reporting and SPR examination. What also I've got on here is We have published examinable documents, and I've done a couple of videos on these as well. They're all free on ACCA's website, but so many students don't know about them. There's so much key information. The external examiner's trying to get these key points across to you, so make the most of it. That's why I said just forward these on to all of your study buddies, whatever it may be, because this could be the difference between getting a 48, 49 and having to resit, or getting a 50 plus and on to the next one. So these are more of the details that you can have a read through yourself, but the key critical things for me comes down to the last paragraph on here. So my key notes on here is why you need to watch all of this video and use the documents. So the ACCA and the external examiner on here have put the study guide offers more detailed guidance on the depth and level at which the examinable documents will be examined. So in other words, read between the lines, you've got the examinable documents, and then this goes into greater detail. And the detail is a lot further down. And when I looked it through, I went, good grief, imagine if I was a student now having this. It was a brilliant checklist on there, brilliant details to go through. And it sort of asked yourself, well, if I know all of this, then I'm going to be comfortable going into the exam and it's going to reduce my anxiety. But I'm going to come down onto that later on with my tips and insights as to ones that have been tested before and where they fall into different areas of the syllabus, and also where they've been tested in the different sections. So in relation to linking financial accounting, or in other words, where does this exam link into the other exams that you'll do in the future? Well, let me bring it down on here so you can see it crystal clear. So there's financial accounting bang in the middle, but it's the ones above. So you've got financial reporting and strategic business reporting on there. Now, I've done videos on financial reporting and strategic business reporting, and trust me on this, if you struggle with financial accounting, understanding the principles, understanding the concepts, thinking you're just going to pass it and just get 50 and I'll do the bare minimum. Well, if you do the bare minimum now, you are going to really struggle going on to the further exams. Trust me on this. So it's really worth getting that ground knowledge, that sort of infrastructure at the bottom that is going to pay dividends for you in future examinations. Or you'll have to be going through your old textbooks again and having a look through them. But that's not to say to bin them, because there are so many good points within all of the key texts, which I'll put in the descriptions of this video below, so you can check them out as well, as to where they actually flow into the other exams and the key areas that you need to be aware of. So let's keep going on to the approach to examining the syllabus. And these are critical notes on here that you must get down. And we've reiterated already the 120 minutes for the 100 marks, so 1.2 minutes per mark. Start doing questions at a time in your revision. That is fundamental. As we've got on there, we've got this 2-hour computer-based examination. You've got to get comfortable with the format. There are online assessments on ACCA's website that you can practice and go through. The examiner, again, has put, coming onto this later on into the document, all parts of the syllabus, but notice how they've hinted at it again and again and again. And I've seen it in past questions where you get a random question from a random bit of the syllabus, and that could be the difference between passing and failing. It's split up into 2 sections, so I've highlighted them in yellow there for you. Keep it simple. So you've got section A, which is the objective test questions, or OTQs if you want to get it jotted down. You'll see that in some of your textbooks. And then section B, we've got MGQs on there. So what are we looking at there? Well, we've got multi-task questions. Now, coming on to this in a bit more detail, and this will be overlooked by people who read this if you haven't looked at the external examiner's report, but the actual section B now, these will test, get this jotted down, consolidations and accounts preparation, absolutely fundamental. And then in terms of sole traders and limited companies, that is a key note for section B, because those are the critical areas and the only real areas that they test in section B. And also section B is a lot harder than section A as well. Section A is 70 marks, so you've got 35 questions, all 2 marks each. That requires a lot of focus, a lot of analysis as you go through. And I've done an actual strategy how I would approach this in terms of timing in my top tips video for you to check out on there. Section B, we've got 30 marks, that's 2 15-mark questions, 36 minutes, and before you know it, 2 hours is going to fly by from it. But for me personally, it's a case of you've got to try and break that up into different areas, improve your concentration, get in the right mindset to actually not make silly mistakes. the external examiner puts in every single report. Silly mistakes, especially in section A, is the reason why people fail this examination. So loads of question practice along with going through the syllabus when we go through this further on. But the overall aim of the syllabus on here, so this is involved in section A and section B, and I've just put in here a key paragraph to note down. It was all important, but the key words on here, understanding the underlying principles and accounting concepts, you've got to understand those with the technical proficiency, using your double entries, so your debits and credits, knowing what's an asset and expense, a liability, income and capital. And then the techniques, including the basic financial statements, that relates into section B. So you can maybe do another note going back up to the top there. Really nicely broken down, but it's again one of the areas that understanding those core concepts, putting in the time, because if you just skim over it, you could end up in one of those 3 in 10, I'm afraid. That is again what the external examiner hints at. We've got an introduction to the syllabus now, and again, fundamental notes that it breaks down everything in those core texts into a nice, easy few paragraphs. So if you want to underline some of the key concepts on here, get these down as maybe a little check off to say, am I confident? Am I confident on them as well? So we've got the fundamentals of the regulatory framework, accounts preparation, so again linking back into section B, and written characteristics of useful information. The external examiner likes to test about stakeholders. What impact does a business have on the wider community? Or it could be a supplier, it could be an employee, and linking it in there. We've got the principles of accounts preparation. So then this is what is used further in financial reporting and SBR. So note it on the side there. But there are 3 key areas on here for the syllabus to concentrate in depth. So recording, processing, and reporting. Knowing the process as it goes through for business transactions, so that's your double entry, what's going on, any adjustments, and events. So this relates into actual standards. So classically, they like testing events after the reporting period, revenue recognition. If you're not confident on that, go away and do some background reading. I've done another video on that, going through all of the potential standards, top to bottom. It's on my channel. Go check it out. It's going to save you hours. The next thing is we've got the syllabus on here, covers the use of the trial balance. So you might have to actually come into identifying and correcting errors. So the suspense account on there. But key things to note down, this is either going to be from a sole trader or a limited company perspective in the preparation of financial statements. So incorporated or unincorporated. There may be an aspect in terms of group accounts, as you can see at the bottom, but it's key that you understand the level of detail that you could be asked for. So basic interpretation of them, actual preparation of the simple consolidated financial statements. So in the external examiner's reports, it's saying what sort of titles should go into this area, what balance is required, relating into the accounting equation, if you want to get it jotted down, that all the assets are equal to the liabilities plus the capital. Those are the fundamental areas, especially that you could be tested on. So that nicely covers us on there. So hopefully getting down loads of good notes, because we're going to get on to the main areas for me that really, really add value to you. So we've got the actual main capabilities here, and in more detail below, but just take those down. I would copy and paste them, pop them on your study notes, and check them off. Maybe go through within the actual 8 days remaining before the exam, say I'm going to spend time going through one of those sections and then just check them off. So it could be in the morning, half a day, part A, tick. And then the second part of the day could be going through question practice on absolutely everyone, all of the questions. Something on those lines. That is a very helpful guide in terms of the key areas, how you're going to be successful on this examination. And as we scroll down, from those parts on there, so A to H, you've got to think to yourself, well, how does that flow into how a business actually works? Or how does this actually align to what's sort of going on in the world of accounting? And you can see it flowing through there, the purpose of financial accounting, to the characteristics, how we record it, the double entry, trial balance, financial statements, and then consolidating and interpreting it as well. So a really nice diagram. So you can actually start to picture as to say, well, why am I studying this? How does it relate into actual real world out there. And if I was to set up my own business, how could I apply this? If you start to get into that mindset, you're going to digest that information even better. So it's the same letters, the same points as above, but this really helpfully shows us how it all links in together. But let's go down to now. So I put this down as sort of using this as the revision checklist. So when I mentioned before, there are 8 sections that I've highlighted on here, and I'd say 8 days, 9 days before the exam, one of the sections in the morning, check it off, go through it, and then in the afternoon do some practice questions on there. But it breaks it down nicely so that if I was to say to you in terms of the syllabus, the context and purpose of financial reporting, you've then got 5 areas as to say, well, okay, what things do I need to be thinking about? How does it relate to principles in terms of this, and where has this been tested in the past? So we've got external reporting, stakeholder needs again, mentioned again by the external, main elements of financial reporting. And you've got to ask yourself, am I competent? Am I confident on going through these areas? And once you are, it's a really good checklist to go through, broken down, nice and short and sweet. And what I quite like is it's all on one page as well. So you can actually go through it and say, well, James, am I confident with cash? Do I know where it's actually found within the financial statements? Do I understand depreciation? Can I calculate the 2 methods, reducing balance, straight line? Number of years, or is it a percentage? So cash, statement of financial position, current asset. We've got subsidiaries and associates. So you've got to think about control on there. These are the sort of things in terms of, I treat these as sort of buzzwords to say, right, if I have statement of cash flows, if I was to say to you now, okay, statement of cash flows, could you tell me the 3 key headings of the statement of cash flows? Have a think, have a think. Well, if you couldn't say operating, financing, and investing, then if you go down further in the document, this is where the numbers go into even more detail on here. The key thing on this, when I read it through, was it's slightly confusing because it goes down the column on the left. Then when it's finished the page, it goes back up to the top. So hence why you can see those red lines on there to split it out. But again, it's got the context and the purpose of financial reporting. But instead of it being just sort of nice and simple one-liners, which I quite like above, it's very good, it's a case of it's gone into more detail, say on those stakeholders' needs. It identifies for you all of those key areas, the parameters, the level of detail that you need to be going into. So you've got everything on there from accruals, going concern, relevance, and I've been through practice questions on ACCA's website through different providers, and these are the key fundamental buzzwords, key terms that they will use in the examination. 100%. So you've got to go through each of them one by one and say, am I competent in terms of, well, comparability, in terms of if I've got a company that's in the textile business versus in the oil industry, are they actually comparable in terms of it? One turns over, or one has revenue of £5 billion, whereas another one's a local shopkeeper. What are we talking about in terms of comparability there? But as you start to go through it, this is where it goes into much more greater levels of detail. There are 8 sections on here, so you have to decide what works best for you to cover these areas. I think it's a really good tool to go through, but this will need to be reviewed a lot earlier on in your actual learning phase as well as you're going through. So the one where it's a summary sheet up above, where it's got the nice easy 8 sections and it's all on one page, I think that's brilliant for a week before. But this will be when you're going through those core areas, actually checking them off one by one as you go through, because this has got for you on here all of the fundamental areas that you need to be really confident on as you go through. So make sure you've got the little split on there from the line. So as you can see on here, you've got recording transactions and events. So number 1 is sales and purchases. And number 2, you have to scroll back up. There you go. There's cash, there's inventory, and then it goes on to the next page for number 4 for the tangible non-current assets. So don't get some of the sections mixed up. It could have been laid out a bit easier, I'll be honest. But if you just follow it nice and easy through, put in the lines that I've got on my checklist, then you'll be absolutely fine. So use that page up there as a revision checklist. It's going into so much more details on here. I really don't want the video to go on for hours upon hours. I'm sure you really don't want to listen to me on there. I've put on there for the revision checklist, but it's just to give you an insight as to say, well, what are the different areas, keywords on here, provisions we've got, capital structure, finance costs, income statement, balance sheet, trial balance. It's all on there for you and a really underused resource in my eyes. So these are the key knowledge areas that link into financial reporting and SBR as well. So all of these sort of disclosures, balance sheet, all of these various different areas, especially provisions. Oh, not sure what happened there. Anyway, we digress. It's all right. In terms of it, and lo and behold, there you go. There are our three key headings exactly, like clockwork, as we've said before. There's another line in terms of it. But one final thing on here, because I remember the external examiner pointed up on this as well, the calculation of goodwill. If you want to make a side note on there, that could be tested, but only in section B. So only in section B, the calculation of goodwill. But again, that links into SBR and financial reporting. Associate subsidiaries, so that's linking into control. A subsidiary has over 50% in terms of the ownership from the parent, whereas an associate is between 20 to 50%. You've got different treatments in terms of it. And then, well, we've got to look at some final tips how to tackle and approach this. So H is the final one in terms of the interpretation. I'm going to leave that on there for you to actually go through in your own time as well. But the main sort of questions you've got to be asking yourself when you're going through this in your own time is, do I understand the key terms? So checking them off one by one as you go through. Could you describe those key terms or concepts to another ACCA student? That's why I send this document over to them with the video and say, look, you do part A, I'll do part B, and then tell me what you learned from it. But there will be areas, especially in this, where you go, you are going to struggle on it and you will need to improve your knowledge. So identifying that earlier on is going to be really key, because then you're going to get so much more out of going through the actual document itself and then targeting your revision, so that if you got a question on cash flows or income statement, you're going to be absolutely spot on to pick up on those other marks on there. So finally on here, we've got some final FA tips. So from my experience going through it again, in terms of, so we've got the summary of changes which happen year on year, and financial accounting changes briefly bits. There will be little updates, but like I said, some of it will be consistent. And again, you could watch this video along with the updated videos in the future. It's all going to benefit you because the key skills and the key concepts are the main things on here. So the first things I've got down going away from today, make sure you get this jotted down, are you've got to get a question and system practice. So by system practice, I mean the computer-based examination and questions, going through it and actually saying to yourself, am I understanding the key terms being asked here? And what are the key areas, especially for section B? We've talked about the 120 minutes for 100 marks, so 1.2 minutes per mark. So doing the questions to time. I know it's tough, but again, on my channel, I've done a study with me actual video. So if you want to set it to 10 minutes, 18 minutes, a certain number of questions, there's a really useful tool on there that will help you. Question and answer interpretation is always where students fail this exam. Not understanding what the question is asking for, and if you have a look at the external examiner's video that I've done, that is going to pay dividends for you. They've gone through 5 different examples on there, and I can tell you where students have gone wrong, not reading the question properly, and then also interpreting what the answer is trying to say, because questions in this exam are worded so to say, which 2 out of the following are correct for the statement, or which 2 of the following go against the principles of stakeholders. And you then have to apply that business and accounting knowledge to the scenario that you're provided with. And that is the difference between being in the 7 out of 10 and being in the 3 out of 10, I'm afraid. But we've got the exam time strategy to increase concentration. So I'm all about splitting up section A, then going to section B, then coming back to section A. I've done a breakdown on that in terms of the timings, but every student is different. It's all about concentration, minimizing those actual mistakes and picking up on those easy marks, because the fine lines are there as to passing and failing this exam. And the more of the syllabus you cover, the better, because of how it links into the other examinations if you really scrape this exam, you will probably struggle with financial reporting. So make sure you keep your notes together, go through this document again and again, along with your core text or with your tutors, whatever it may be, and you are going to be fine. But it's just a word of warning. I would not want you to be just sort of scraping by and thinking, oh, it'll be all right. We'll just scrape our way through to qualifying. Doesn't work like that. But if you have failed this exam before, I've done another video in terms of saying, well, if you have failed, how you can bounce back from that. So make sure you go check it out. And again, send it to any of your friends. That will definitely help them. That is how we go through the actual study guide for financial accounting. That if you watch this, or if you are here now watching it with me, you are going to be fine because you now know how to use this resource. But let's head back to the main screen and go through the final points on 3 and 2 and 1. Wow, I hope you found that helpful, because if I was in your shoes, those are the main facts, the main tips, and my insights that are going to help you pass the upcoming Financial Accounting FA or F3 examination. If you go through these tips, you are going to be absolutely fine, and you're going to be in the 7 out of 10 that are going to pass this exam. If you found today's video helpful, feel free to give it a massive thumbs up so more ACCA students around the world can see these videos. Also, if you've got any queries, anything on those lines you want me to do more videos on, leave it in the comments below and feel free to subscribe so you get access to all of my free videos and you'll get them first dibs on it. It's alright when I upload them fresh. Well, the last thing I'd say is best of luck with your upcoming financial accounting examination. Let me know how you get on. I'll put my Instagram details at the bottom so you can connect as well. But as always, on that bombshell, I'll see you next time. Cheers!